Welcome back to The Ed Show. The will he or won't he talk about Chris Christie tells you everything you need to know about the current state of the Republican presidential hopefuls. No one in the party can get excited about Mitt Romney, who hasn't cracked 25% in the polls. Donald Trump was the front runner in April before his phony campaign was exposed. Michelle Bachmann was the hot candidate to beat after winning the Iowa straw poll. She's now polling in single digits, and her campaign lost 2 more top aides today. Not good. Rick Perry shot to the top when he announced his candidacy. Now he's, not faring too well, is he? He's now in 3rd place in Florida. Which brings us to New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, who still says he's not running despite Republicans begging him to get into the race. According to Politico, 3 sources close to Christie say it's a family decision between Christie and his wife, Mary Pat, and he could still decide to run. But with opinions like this one, Christie could be just another GOP flavor of the month.
This Sharia law business is crap. It's just crazy. And I'm tired of dealing with the crazies.
Christie is not conservative enough for a lot of the Republican Party, including some of the current candidates.
Some people would infuse Sharia law in our court system if we allow it. I honestly believe that.
By the way, Herman Cain is up 19 points in a new Florida poll, good enough for 2nd place. Joining me tonight is Steve Kornacki, political columnist for Salon.com, and also Joe Madison, Sirius XM radio talk show host. Gentlemen, great to have you with us. Steve, to you first, Steve. Christie says no in public, but then this story just won't go away. What's happening here?
Well, I think there's sort of a very high threshold here that has to be met to get him into this race. And I think the fact that he even has been considering it for the last week is really remarkable, given all of those denials. But I think something kind of fundamentals happen here. You know, I used to cover New Jersey, so I'm a little familiar, I think, with what's going on. I think about a week ago, the story was Republicans were trying to get Chris Christie into the race. We're trying to talk him into it. Then he just said he would consider it. And I think what's happened in the last few days is it's been Republicans telling Chris Christie the 646 reasons why it's too late, it'll never work, it's not logistically feasible. And I think at that point, he looks at it and says, I got a good enough deal in New Jersey.
Joe, is it too late for him to get in? I mean, does he have a team on the ground in Iowa? Can he get this thing done?
No, he doesn't. And I think that's exactly what your guest is pointing out. And remember now, some of the primaries are upping their date. So you're absolutely right. This is a matter of the Republican Party being in a flux. And it's about arithmetic. Who can win in the South? Well, Romney is in trouble, maybe because of his religion. People want to deny it, but there's a factor there in the Bible Belt. The Northeast, Republicans have never been very strong in the Northeast. So maybe they're looking at Chris Christie because there's a way of getting him. But you've hit it on the head. When you look at his record, he is not going to appeal to the Tea Party.
Well, I want to ask you about that. Has Herman Cain hit on something here that nobody else is willing to say, that maybe Christie's kind of a lefty in the righty party?
Well, that's what's going to happen. As soon as he gets in, it's like the Muppet Show. They're all going to start, screaming and yelling and attacking whoever they think is the leader. But what's interesting about Herman Cain? You mentioned he's going up in the polls, but what I don't hear people talking about is where is the financial support? Is he catching on with the big contributors? And no one's talking about that. You would think that they would be throwing money at him.
Steve, is he a surging candidate?
I think his surge reflects a lot more about the failure of Rick Perry to live up to the potential that was there for him when he got into this race, to run away with this thing, to be the candidate of the conservatives. But I wanted to get back to a point about Christie and the idea, Herman Cain saying he's too far to the left and he's vulnerable there if he gets in. On paper, I agree with that. But if Christie doesn't run, I think he's making a mistake. And I would say it comes down to this. Realistically, if Christie gets in, the Republicans probably have 3 options for their nominee: Mitt Romney, Rick Perry, Chris Christie. If you look at them on paper, that means the Republicans are going to have to compromise on conservative values in some way or another, whether it's Romney with immigration, Romney with health care, Perry with immigration. The difference with Christie is this. If you watch him in action, there is this authenticity, and I think what he does, he has the effect on Republicans. He makes them want to like him, and then they work backwards and they rationalize a way to like him. I don't see that with Perry and Romney.
I think that abrasive personality could come back to really be a detriment. Joe, what do you think?
Well, I agree. And that's style over substance. I mean, and that's why the Democrat, President Obama, is really sitting back. He doesn't have to say a word because it's a circular firing squad. They'll start shooting at each other, and by the time you look up whoever is left, you can talk about moving to the center or the establishment, but it'll be one hell of a Republican convention because the Tea Party folks are not going to stand for it.
And one quick answer from both of you. Joe, does Rick Perry get past this latest controversy of his hunting ranch?
I think the answer, my feeling is no, because I don't think he has the consciousness that it would take. Lady Bird Johnson knew some of these names existed in the 60s, and guess what she did? She used her position to change it. Question would be asked to Perry. When did you use your position as governor to change these things?
Steve, to get past it?
Within the Republican primary, I think yes, because there's no other option.
But in the general?
He's a flawed candidate in the general. I think that's becoming clear.
Steve Kornacki, Joe Madison, always great to have you with us.
Thank you.
Dick Cheney wants President Obama to apologize for killing another terrorist. Shooter is in the zone next. And if Republicans paid more attention to what Ronald Reagan said about taxes, they wouldn't be accusing President Obama of class warfare. You won't want to miss this one. Stay with us.